Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Stockwell with DemoBlastStudios.com. Today we are presenting Robin Nelson's Wrestle Popcast. We are joined by one half of the greatest tag team in professional wrestling history, the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. Of course, we're speaking with Road Warrior Animal. Animal, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hey, no problem, man. It's always great to do podcasts. I love doing them. As you know, I got my own, my Water Rush podcast. So anytime I get to do a wrestling podcast for the fans, I love it.
Growing up, a huge wrestling fan. You know, I'm old enough to follow everything through the aftermags, and just seeing the covers with you and Hawk on them was enough for that little boy from upstate New York to just fall in love with professional wrestling. With being legends in the wrestling industry, I myself not only a fan of you and Hawk, but also of Paul Ellering, the mastermind behind the chaos. If you would be so kind, if you could share just some thoughts about your relationship with Paul Ellering over the years and how much he meant to the creation and the legacy of the Road Warriors.
Well, I mean, without Paul Ellering, there wouldn't have been no Road Warriors, you know what I mean? Paul was very instrumental. I remember all the nights at the Waffle House sitting there with a napkin saying, okay, Animal, you're here, Hawk, you're here, you guys got to work together, and teaching us the ins and outs of wrestling, right? Being a Minnesota guy, and we both were living in Minnesota, the guy, so we had that connection, man. But Paul Ellering, not only one of the most underrated great managers of pro wrestling, a great human being. Anything he touches or does turns to gold, man. He's a great guy. You know, I'm so proud. I mean, I'm proud. I'm like a proud papa because Rachel Ellering's doing great. His daughter Rachel's wrestling all over the country and in Japan. So, you know, it's a lot of great memories, man. And Paul and I are great friends, and we'll be great friends until the day I pass away, man. It's awesome.
That's awesome. And of course, the Road Warriors being the only tag team to be AWA, NWA, and WWF World Tag Team Champions. It seemed like at that point in time that you guys were very particular and methodical about the route that you were taking in wrestling. Was it happenstance, the places you went, or was there a definitive plan of where you were going and what you were building towards?
Well, you know, a lot of it was we didn't want to get burnt out in one area, so that's why we would go, you know, NWA, go to Japan, AWA, go to Japan. WWF, we were talking to them, and then no, they didn't want to do guarantee contracts. We said, okay, we'll see, we'll go to Japan. Until finally they needed to have us, and they wanted to have us in there. And we also thought we were going to do a long program with Demolition, be married to them guys for a year, and then we beat them our first match in 7 minutes. So that was the end of pretty much the end of Demolition. You know, Hawk and I won some odd 20 different titles, man. But you're right, the big three, as they call them, no other tag team in history will ever go down as winning those belts, and that's an honor for us, and it's something that cannot be duplicated again. I mean, in the 180-year history of pro wrestling, for all my mentors and all my peers to think of us as a top tag team ever, that's a hell of a compliment, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the biggest Road Warrior moments that I recall that I loved was Wembley, when you guys came out on the bikes, just that entrance. I know you've talked about it in various shoot interviews and podcasts. I know probably not the smoothest entrance that the Road Warriors ever made, but from a fan, it was awesome. If you would share some thoughts about that day in Wembley, and if there were any other huge events that really stick out on your mind as much as that particular event.
Well, you know, we were doing a whole European tour there, man. We set attendance records in Barcelona and Milan, Italy, and then that big show in Wembley. And let's just say my partner was more than impaired. We were supposed to be semi-main event match, and we went on like first match, only because I didn't know if he was going to make it through the night, you know. But I cannot explain to you what it's like to have 90,000 people in Great Britain now, a foreign country, all chanting LOD, like the whole match. And, you know, they got those blowhorns, you know, they go, dun, 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 and it's going crazy. And they blow it, and then all 90 would go, LOD. And it was just, it gives you goosebumps, and those are the kind of things in wrestling business that you know it worked. You know, and it was a great accomplishment. And I love going to the UK. I have a lot of UK fans on Facebook, and that message me all the time. I want to talk about wrestling. I go over there and do Comic-Cons quite a bit. So, you know, UK is pretty good.
Recently, my family and I went to go see Ozzy Osbourne during his retirement tour. And I have to admit, the one song that I was looking forward to the most was him doing his rendition of Iron Man, of course, the famous Black Sabbath song. Any old school Road Warrior fans will remember that song blaring through the speakers. You knew that the Road Warriors were going to hit the ring and just completely tear apart any and all opponents. Of course, Robin and I recently went to the NWA 70th anniversary show. Big announcement that was made there. I know Robin wants to ask some further questions about that particular announcement.
Yeah, last weekend we were at the NWA 70th anniversary show, and you were in the ring with Crimson and Jax Dane, and Josephus came out. And what were you thinking? What Josephus was going to do with his, spiritual advisor in Hollywood? Do you think they were going to get in the ring, and were you surprised when Crazy Steve and Shannon Moore came in?
Well, as you saw what I did to Josephus, I mean, if he had came in the ring, it'd have been worse. He'd have been worse off, But a great event. I mean, I'm giving Crimson and Jax Dane a tryout here to see if they have what it takes for me to walk out with the ring with them, because that's a big step in their career, And I think they got what it takes. They got to work on tweak a couple things here and there. But Jax is fine. I got to work on some stuff with Crimson a little bit. But I think all in all, it's going to be good. Now, you're right, man. The big announcement was that Crockett Cup.
Yes.
And the people, as you heard, went nuts. And then the LOD chant started going on. It was probably the loudest cheer of the night when I announced the Crockett Cup. Being the very first winner of the Cup, it's a prestigious award, man. It's heritage, man. It's lineage in our business, And we need those kind of things to come back. I'm really happy to see the NWA come back, to be quite honest with you.
And also, what's it like to work with Billy Corgan?
Billy was a great guy. That was my first time I got to talk to Billy, meet with him. I'm a big fan of what he did in the music industry with the Smashing Pumpkins, being a Chicago guy. Billy's a great guy. We talked about some ideas back there and everything else. And I think going forward with the Crockett Cup and the tag team industry over there with the NWA, hopefully, and they said they wanted me to be involved in that, so I'd like to be involved behind the scenes, trying to develop their tag teams for them, and bringing the NWA back to the prestige that it deserves,
I hope it's going to happen. I have a feeling about that as well.
Yeah.
One more question. You were over wrestling in Japan. What was some of your memorable moments and experiences over in Japan?
Well, Japan's a country like no other. I mean, Japan really takes care of the top Americans that come over there. It's always going to be the big battle since World War II, The Japanese wrestle the American boys, right? So, I mean, it's really good. It's a great, humbling country. The people there are freaking awesome. I love Japan, and I love the food too, man. It's great. Ribera Steakhouse, Ribera and his son Toshi Yamaguchi are great friends of mine, man. They stayed at my house in the States. Good people, and I really like Japan.
So, what was your experience like over at StarCast and All In?
Well, that was crazy. I mean, were you guys there?
Yes.
You hear that reaction I got? I mean, people went crazy. They had all 10,000 people chanting LOD like crazy. So it was a great reaction, considering I haven't been on TV since 2011. So it was really good, man. It was, hey, how could you not like Chicago, what it stands for, man? And it just goes to show you that the fans are speaking. The fans want something other than the WWE. They want NWA and All In to get together with ROH and bring it back to prestige, bring it back to wrestling, bring it back to long storylines, bring it back to fan investment in the product. That's what needs to happen.
I totally agree with this as well. Thank you so much for coming on and taking your time.
What a rush.
Thank you. This is Robin Nelson, Wrestle Popcast.